60% of Americans think about starting a business, but only about 20% do. And I get it, because starting a business is really scary because you do not know if it's gonna work or not. Luckily for you, since the age of 15, I've started and failed at 6 different businesses. And today I'll be going over each, giving you the lessons that I had to learn the hard way. And you're gonna wanna stick to the end because my most recent failure was the first business where I actually made a livable income. My first ever business was a done for you homework agency, and I'll get into depth about what that actually means here in a second, but you need context on where I am in life at this point in time. So I'm 15 years old, and 15-year-old me is in high school, and I am just completely bored out of my fucking mind. Like, it's so hard for me to explain this to people, but like, school was always like super boring, and it's not because like I was lazy and I didn't get it or I struggled in school. It's actually because of the complete opposite reason. School was so freaking easy. It took less than 0.00% of like my mental capacity. Like, just to explain, I was always in advanced classes, and this was the type of student I was. I'm the type of student, and I have people that can vouch for me. I would walk into class, go to sleep, like just straight up go to sleep, wake up, take a test, get 100, go back to sleep. It used to piss off my teachers. And that's why I was so bored, because school was just so easy for me. And the only way I could like get rid of like my boredom is, number one, playing basketball. Number two was being a class clown. And number three was just experimenting with business. So at this point in time, because school was just so easy for me, I decided like, okay, I might as well make money here. So what I did is I started selling done for you homework. So what I would tell people, and I would market it through Snapchat. Like, this is not literally my first business ever. I would tell people, hey, if you're struggling with work, with schoolwork or homework or essays, I will fucking do it for you. Because that's how simple it was. And like, you can see the messaging here. This is directly from my Snapchat back in 2017. I had to dig this one up. You see, if you got any homework you don't want to do, or you need good grades or essays/projects, hit me up. I got you. Homework is $2 per page, and 1 page front and back. Essays are $5, and projects depend. No need to worry about your grades anymore. I got you. 9th and 10th graders only. Because I wasn't gonna do somebody's homework that was like a senior at the time. Yo, this used to print. And I'll show you how much it used to print, because I leveraged like the money I made from this business into like my next business. But this used to print, and here's the funny thing, I also had a guarantee. Like, I guaranteed that if I didn't get you above a 90, you just didn't have to pay me. Like, I was printing here. Now, I shut down this business because, number one, I realized that I had no leverage. I had no leverage at all, because I was the one doing everybody's homework. Like, I'm only one person, so I can only make a certain amount of money, right? And I'm sorry, like, I might have been able to make money, but I don't know about you, but I hate doing homework. And I hated doing homework. So it's like, I got paid, but it was getting paid to do more homework. Like, it was like, that's the lesson I learned here, is like leverage. You have to have leverage for any business that you start. Now, the second thing that caused me to stop this is, one time, dude, I can swear on my life. One time, I wrote this guy an essay. It was for an English class, and the essay was so good, the English teacher literally got in front of the class and said it was the best essay she had ever read in her 20 years of teaching. So I'm over here sitting like, on my essay that I wrote for myself, like I got a B. Right, because it's like I really don't care. But for the essay for this other guy I write, right, she literally shouts him out, and it's like, she's like, this is the best essay I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie, I got jealous. Like, I got jealous at him for getting a higher grade than me, but it's like, low key, it was my grade. I wanted the credit for that. I wanted to have that spot as best essay that she's ever read. That low key pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I shut down this business, and the money that I made from this business, I leveraged into my next business. Actually, give me 1 second. I might have the event switched up, because I think my next business was actually, done for you Snapchat growth agency, right? So this was the method. This is actually what I did. All right. So I kind of just capped. I kind of just lied to you guys, right? So what I would do is for this business is I would actually help people promote their Snapchats so they can get more followers, right? Or like ads or whatever. I haven't used Snapchat in forever. Like who still uses Snapchat? So you can kind of see the messaging here. Hit me up if you want to wake up with ads like this. This ain't no scam. I really got you. I forgot how I used to. You can kind of see like I got 91 ads in like a day, right? And I forgot how I used to do this. But this was also a scheme of mine, right? And I did probably only made like what $50 off of this, if I'm being honest, right? It was not that much, but the money that I made from this in my first business, right, brings us into my third business, which is what I actually meant. I kind of like, since this was such a long time ago, I kind of got like my events mixed up. But my third business was this right here, Food Distribution Hub. So I was a snack seller in school. Okay, I was one of those guys, and I used to print. Like it got so bad that, number one, other people in school started copying me, right? And number two, like the school kind of shut me down. Like they completely shut me down. And they're like, yeah, you can't do this anymore. Like the teachers had me on watch, and it was so weird. But no. I used to print with this thing, right? Now there's a couple of lessons I learned here. Number one, with all these snacks that I used to buy and resell, I'm not gonna lie, I used to eat out my old supply. Like sometimes I would get hungry, right? I've always loved snacks. I always loved food. I would just start eating some of these snacks on my own. So it's like the profit margin that I would have would get completely diminished because I would eat my profit, and I'm like, okay, I actually have to sell it. I have to not eat the rest of these, or I'm gonna have to order less food, right? So that's one lesson I learned, and second lesson I learned was like the amount of people that would just straight up copy. Like once I started like actually printing, and let me just put this in air. Printing in high school is making like $150-$200. Okay, let's be real. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I made thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in high school. Printing for me at this time was like making 150, 200, maybe $250. Like as an adult, it's not anything. But when you're 15 and 16 years old, that's a lot of money, man. It's a lot of money. You don't have to ask your parents for video games anymore. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. You're in I wouldn't say complete control of your freedom. Like I was about to cap, but it's like, no, like you're actually have capital to like buy video games or this and that. It was so fun. But like I was saying, a lot of people started copying me, and it pissed me off because they would copy me, and then they would just copy everything I did, and then some of my customers would start going to them. No, that shit actually pissed me off. You do not get it. That was like one of my first experiences of like how competition is in like a business sense. It's because like when I say these people will copy me verbatim. Like if I made a post like this, they will make a post like that. If I'm like, okay, meet me at lunch or in the gym for this and that, they will do the same thing, right? It was so annoying. And then secondly, right, the school started to catch wind of like how many snacks I was actually selling. Like I'm not gonna lie, I think this is how drug dealers feel. Like I'm not gonna lie, I had my school in control. When it came to snacks, I had my school on lockdown. Like that was my territory. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think this is how drug dealers feel, but I wouldn't know. I've never sold drugs a single day in my life. But it was, I don't know. The amount of power I felt here, it was crazy. But it got to a point where like the school started to shut me down. Like teachers would tell me like, hey, if I kept selling, I would go to detention or in-school suspension or whatever, right? I even got pulled into the principal's office for this, and they told me to shut it down. So this was the first business where I dealt with extreme competition, right? And extreme regulation. Right, which is really, really interesting to think about. And keep in mind, at this time, I'm like 2019. I'm like 16. Wait, No, at this time I'm 17, right? Depending on how we're in the year, I'm 16, 17, right? Which is crazy, right? I know, like, okay, let's put this in perspective. There are 17-year-olds making like 20, 30 grand a month. Like, it was just crazy, bro. I've met some of them. It's fucking weird. Next business is drop shipping in 2020, right? This is like pre-college. This is during lockdown. Let me show you some of my notes because I lost all the material for like my drop shipping store. I lost all the material for my ads. I lost everything because it's been like 6 years, right? But what I do have is I do have my notes from back then, 2020, right? You'll see two things, right? Proactive commercials, notes, and then you'll see why did my first business fail, right? So I used to be really into, at that point in time, I was starting to get like really into direct response marketing. So what I would do is I would study like proactive commercials. I don't know what it was about proactive commercials, but I was really obsessed with them, right? That store really only made me like $1,000, maybe $2,000. And just to explain what I did with that store, so during COVID, which is when 2020 was, right? All the gyms shut down, and I realized that like everybody would have to go work out from home. So what I did is I just sold gym equipment, right? The first product was and really my only product was like a belt, like those workout belts, right? That I sold to people. I was a terrible marketer. Like I said, I only made like $1,000 to $2,000 like in totality, right? And we can see right here why did my first business fail. Number one, was not properly funded. I did not put aside a crash pad of money to catch me after my failures. I was spending like basically everything I made back on ads. Right? It was not profitable. No proper understanding of how to advertise. You knew that you would have to advertise, but you didn't understand what type of advertising would work, which is why I was doing so much research on like Proactive and other brands. Moving too fast, which I actually don't think that's a bad thing. You got an LLC before you were making money at a constant rate. That same money could have been spent that you spent on LLC could have been used on advertising. Remember, this is in December 18th, 2020. Like, I'm actually so proud of myself for this. Lastly, you let up. Even though you were really focused, after talking to Josh's family, you stopped going as hard. Instead of giving 120, you started giving 80 or 75. This happened because you felt as if you didn't have to try as hard because you realized you were miles ahead of what anybody around you was doing. All these mistakes led you to having to dissolve your LLC and put your store on pause, learn from your mistakes, and come back better than before. Dude, I used to be a fucking G. I'm not gonna lie. Keep in mind, I'm writing this to myself in 2020, right? And what this meant, like right here. So talking to Josh's family. Josh is one of my childhood friends. We actually don't talk anymore, right? And his uncle is a millionaire. His uncle, I was hanging out over at Josh's house. His uncle came over, right? And I told him what I was doing. And as a millionaire, he was like, yo, that's better than like 99.99% of like people in your age group. Like, you are miles ahead. Like, he was gassing me up. He was telling me like, at your age, I wasn't even thinking about stuff like this, right? So I got arrogant and I started to slow down. I started going as hard as I was, and my store kind of died, right? That's part one of that. And there's actually one more document I want to show you. What's it called? As far as this store, I also like I'll show you how much research I was kind of doing. I was going to launch a new product here, which was going to be a knee brace because I kind of wanted to target down into like pains because that's something I learned from direct response marketing. I'm not going to go too much in depth into that. Like the power belt solved like back pain, so I wanted to get into like solving knee pain while you're working out, and like this was starting my preliminary research. But like I said, after just talking to Josh's family, I kind of fell off, right? Because I just thought I was the shit, you know? And then I went to college and it completely ruined like any entrepreneurial like pursuit. You can kind of see, and I'm about to show you, right? You can see like the distance between the businesses. So 2017 first business, 2018 second business, 2019 third business, 2020 fourth. Wait, I think I skipped one. It's 2017, 2018, blah 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 blah. Yeah, fourth business. Yeah, so it's like back to back to back to back to back. My next business after drop shipping wasn't until 2025, like end of 2025, which is what I'm about to get into next. Like, think about that. If I went from making a new business every single year and progressing extremely fast to where there's a 5-year gap. And the reason why is because I kind of became an adult, right? I started going to college, right? Which means I had a lot less free time, right? Then I dropped out of college because I realized, like, again, the problem with school was not that it was hard. It was just brain-dumbingly, like, boring. It was too easy. It was so boring for me. So I dropped out of college, right? And I was going to pursue blah, blah, something I'm about to get into here in a second. And then I got into sales and I started grinding at sales, like really grinding. I was working 65 to 80 hours a week here, right? And I took my income from like barely making like any money to where I was making 15 grand. And then I realized like, this is not where I want my life to go. Like being a salesman, like sure, I'm decent at it. Like, I'm being I'm really good at sales, right? But that's not the end point for me. Like I was grinding, so I had no free time to do anything else that I wanted. So I stopped sales, right? And I started my growth operating agency towards the end of 2025. Now, before I even talk about this business, I'll just show you like what I generated. You can kind of see, like, I'm going to refresh this so you know it's not fake, right? It's not a lot of money, right? And I'm going to break down why. So over the last 12 months, right, $33,778. Now, there is more money that I made. I think I have about 7 to 10 grand that I processed on a different payment processor. So it's really like 40 to 43,000. But I could care less to like pull that up. I don't care, right? Really, the point here is like this was the first business where I actually like $33,000. It's not a lot of money at all. But there are people that live off of this. Right, and I made that on my own, right? I marketed, I sold. What's it called? Of course, I did have a business partner for like the fulfillment side, and I'm gonna get into that for a second. But this is a lot of money, right? If you really think about it, because there are people that work for other people, and this is all that they make. Now, here's a caveat though. Just because that's what I generated does not mean that this is what I took home. that's one lesson about business, right? You have to protect your profits, because even though I made this, right, completely not profitable. I probably spent more on marketing and advertising and coaching than I actually made. I promise you. Oh my gosh. Now, to kind of like explain like what this growth operating or this is, like, just in case you don't know, growth operating is essentially where like you go up to like online coaches, consultants, mentors, and like you kind of help them sell their courses, and then you take a percentage of the revenue that you generate for them. It's an agency, right? And I actually documented like from day one. This right here, this channel is what I have fully dedicated to kind of like start to attract an audience for my business. Like this is part of the marketing resources, right? But this isn't actually where I started kind of marketing it. Let me take you to my other channel. This is my other channel, right? Where I actually started like vlogging and documenting the progress, right? You can kind of see like where I started going in like 0 to 100K a month in online business day 2, day 3, day 4, blah, 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 blah. And then what happened is like, I got tired of like making daily YouTube videos. So I went on Instagram because I'm like, okay, I might be able to build a faster audience on Instagram. And that's where I got here. Like this audience, like I have videos that kind of went, I won't say viral, but like I have videos that made like, that got 350 views, 370,000 views. I know I have a couple more videos with like 100, 250K views, but this is essentially like how I marketed it, and it was pretty good. Like I grew this audience in like a month and a half, 2 months, maybe 3 months tops, and then I just stopped posting because I started to learn a lot more about kind of the info space. Now, one thing about the info space is that there is a lot of money to be made. I've seen people that are making so much money you won't believe. Like they are making like $500,000, $700,000, $1 million per month. Like I've seen it. It is real. But 95% of the space is full of just liars. 95% of the space is just full of liars. And I want to phrase this correctly. I don't think that these people are bad people. I just think that it is just such a common thing to do, to lie in the info space, right? And I'll give you an example. I will expose myself here. When I started blowing up on Instagram, I was getting a lot of leads. I was getting so many coaches that were wanting to work with me. But you got to remember, I had just started growth operating. Like I had no idea what I was doing. So what I did is I used a small connection that I did to partner with another growth operator that had been growth operating for 2 to 3 years. Now, with his own growth operating agency, right, he had generated around $7 to $8 million for his clients. And we kind of like, we almost had opposite problems. I had a problem where I was good at attracting leads, not good at fulfillment. He had a problem where he was good at fulfillment, not good at attracting leads. So it makes sense for us to merge, right? Now, part of that was me taking on his results and kind of like pretending like they were my own results, right? Because technically within my agency, right, my agency at the time when we were merged had generated $7 to $8 million. But me personally, dollars for clients, not take home profit personally, right? Me personally, I had not done that. And that technicality right there, like, it really bothered me. Because it's like, technically, my agency did, but me personally, I knew that I had nothing to do with like those $7 to $8 million, right? I had nothing to do with it. I felt like I was being dishonest and disingenuous with my personal capability to actually get people results, because I was like this. It was in my bio, $7 to $8 million generated for clients, right? I personally didn't do that. Somebody in my agency did, so technically I had the ability to market that, but I personally did not do that. And that distinction, like that disconnect between what I had actually done versus what I was marketing really fucking bothered me. It really bothered me. Like, I had so many coaching calls of like, hey, you gotta fake it until you make it. You're technically not lying to anybody because you actually have done that. It's just not through yourself, but through people in your agency, right? If just think about it in the long term, it's like, hey, dude, if you do not market it and you do not give more credibility to the space, like you're actually doing a disservice to your team, because now you're not bringing in the clients and reputation and blah, 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 blah. I'll throw in some clips here just so you can kind of see like the conversation and how much resistance I had towards like doing that. I bring that up because technically it wasn't lying. It wasn't lying because somebody in my agency had done that. So technically my agency had done that, but it wasn't being transparent to the truth. It wasn't being 100% honest, right? And that distinction really, really bothered me because as a child, my father always taught me like you have to lead with honesty. You have to lead with transparency, right? And I bring that as an example of like, even though I had really good intentions, I still fucking lied. Like, you can say technically, no, your agent, no, me, like with the level I hold myself to, I still fucking lied because I believe that it was the best thing to do for my team based off of like what everybody else was telling me. Now, this is not to put the blame on anybody else. I'm the one that fucking lied. And that's a gray area. And there are so many other gray areas in the space to where it's like, hey, 95% of the space are liars. But that does not mean that they're bad people. Because just like how I lied, even though I thought I was doing the best thing possible, the best thing for my team, for the best thing for the people that had that were working with me, I thought that was the best choice because it's like, that's the commonality. That's what you need to happen. You have to have large amounts of credibilities. And sometimes to do that, people encourage you to cut corners. And that's actually like the most embarrassing, and like, that's the only thing about this, like this time being a growth operator, of what I'm embarrassed about is just like the fact that there was a period of time where I was fucking lying about my results. I fucking hate that. Other than that, everybody's fucking great. Like, the info space is great. I've actually, like, when I was doing coaching, because I did coach a couple of people, like, I genuinely, let me tell you this. There's nothing like talking to somebody, like having one conversation with somebody, and they reach out to you and like, yo, that one conversation with you changed my fucking life. That has happened to me like 5 times. I had one person I talked to about content. He took my advice that I gave him about content, and he grew his Instagram account to like 30K followers. I had one person I talked about his agency, right? He took the advice I gave him, and like he tripled his income. Like, I had one person I talked about drop shipping. I think I made a video about this. That one conversation with him helped him like double, triple his income. I love that about the info space. But what I don't love is how often like the common sentiment that like bending truth and bending corners and cutting corners and sometimes lying or stretching the truth is that's just commonplace. And after like talking to more and more people and learning more about people, it's never going to end. It's a slippery slope. Right? You start cutting corners like in one end, and then you end up just completely lying about your backstory. You lie about like the results that you've gotten. You lie to everybody because you believe it's the best thing to do. And then you end up like, I don't want to say any names, but people in the top, a lot of them are just liars. And personally, I do not see myself growing in a space where the common sentiment, the common thing to do is lie and stretch the truth. Like, that is a deficiency in myself. I cannot do that. I literally cannot do that. So that's why I decided to kind of like, I'm not growth operating anymore. I kind of don't want anything to do with the info space. Like I said, great people. People are amazing. It's just, I genuinely believe that 2 things, right? Pathway to hell is paved with good intentions, right? And the example I gave you before of like, I had good intentions, but I was fucking lying. I was LARPing. And again, you can say the technicality of like, yo, you had somebody on your team that actually did that, so you're not really lying about the results that you could get people, but I was pretending like those results were my own. Not acceptable to me. And number 2, I do believe that like the people that you surround yourself with, you're going to become them. And I don't see myself surrounding myself with people that are just so comfortable with lying and bending the truth. Like, I just can't. So that's why I kind of shut down my agency. I left like my last client earlier this week. And yeah, so that kind of brings us to like, what's next? As you can see, this post is actually on 2 accounts. So you're either watching this from this YouTube channel, right, which I started to grow, like get more traction with growth operating, or you're watching this from this YouTube channel, right? One thing I learned here is that I can actually survive a lot longer than I thought I could while not making like taking home a lot of money, right? And I want to show you guys something, right? So, content creation has been a passion of mine for a very, very long time. Okay? My first video ever was on October 20th, 2020. And it's always almost been, just like school, kind of very simple for me, right? Where I almost always understood like the baseline like mechanics of it. So you can kind of see like first couple of videos, of course it's shit, right? Then it's like got my first 300 view video, then first 400, and then it keeps climbing. You kind of see that I get to a point where it's like nothing crazy, but I keep getting like confirmation. First 1,000 view video, first 5,000 view video. Then you keep going, and it's like then after a little bit, I start averaging 200 views. Right, and here's another 2,000 view video, blah 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 blah. Then I get my first 20,000 view video, right? And it keeps going, it keeps climbing. But what you'll notice is massive gaps in like my content journey. And let me show you what I mean. So these videos right here are like the last videos I posted on my main channel. But you'll see, right, that before I started posting these videos, right, there was a massive gap. Right. So before I posted this video right here, my last video was in 2023. 3 years. 2 years between videos. And we keep scrolling. In 2023, I only posted 2 videos. And before that, my last post was in 2021. Now, content creation has been a passion of mine since 2020, but there's never been a period in time where I just went balls to the wall, didn't get distracted by anything, and I just gave content creation all my attention. And I'll tell you why. It's because, number one, I don't like not making money. Like, I am a money hungry person. And what would happen is like, how do I explain this? I would grind on YouTube, and then because I'm not making money, I would like this first gap right here. How do I explain this? So this first gap right here from 2021 to 2023, this was the period in time where it's like I stopped caring about anything, and I was completely just money focused. I was money hungry. This is when I got into sales. And again, I started grinding 65, 80 hours per week in sales, right? Just to grow my skill. And then it's kind of like I took my head, put it underwater, and I went as hard as I could until like I was drowning, and I lifted my head up, and I realized, yo, this passion of mine that I care so much about, I hadn't done it in 2 years. Right? And that's when I lift my head up, and I'm like, oh, I haven't posted in 2 years. I post 2 quick videos, and then like I don't commit to it. I go right back to the grind. And then you see this video right here, why I quit my 6-figure job, 2025. This was when I was making around $9,000 to $10,000 as a car salesman, and I quit working at that specific car dealership because I kept running into the same like internal sentiment. Like I'm working 65 to 80 hours per week, right? But it's all to build another man's dream. I'm not building my own, right? And I kept justifying it. I'm like, okay, no, I'm grinding, and I'm gonna stack my cash, and like I'm gonna leverage. It never happens because I'm a very obsessive person. It's either I'm all in or something, or I just don't care about it. It's either getting 1,000% of my attention, or it's getting 0% of my attention. Like, that's really good because that level of obsession is why I can grow like really fast whenever I put my head down and do something. But it's also really bad for multitasking. Like, that's why when I'm in sales, it's like I'm grinding like 65 to 80 hours because like I just want to be number one. I just want to be the best. That's the type of person I am. So I quit that job. I make a couple more posts. Like, this is where I'm like kind of like experimenting with growth operating, like back in 2025. Like, this was my first video. And what actually happened is like I saw that my income tanked. I'm like, oh no, I can't handle this. And I got right back into car sales, right? And that's what led me to this video. Because getting right back into it, I hit my first month where I made $15,000 in a month. It was fucking crazy. Like, think about it. At this point, I think I'm 23. This was like a year ago. I'm 23. I just made $15,000 in a month. Like, if you go back and watch this video, I am fucking depressed. Because, yeah, I'm making a lot of money. I'm making $15,000. I think at my peak, I made like 18. But I am so sad because I still have this internal sentiment that I am building up somebody else's dream. And I'm not building up my own. I'm not putting all that attention on my own. So I make a couple of videos because like I got some revenue on the side, and then I quit. And the day I quit is when I started grinding like YouTube videos. And I already talked to you about earlier like how after grinding a couple of videos I started to go all in on specifically growth operating and making money online. And then I stopped posting this and I started posting on Instagram, and that scaled and blah 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 blah. Almost 12 months later, we're here. All right. The reason why I give you this context is because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to give myself the space and the time to actually just go all in on like content creation. Because even though I have all these business desires, right, at its core, I love creating. It's not even about the money. Like I told you, I've made 15, 18 grand in a month. It's not that cool. Because if I'm making that and I'm just feeding another man's dream while sucking my life essence away, it's pointless to me. I've been there. I don't want to go there again. What I love is creating. There's nothing that gives me better satisfaction than like making something, like putting my art all in it, and like other people just enjoying it. And there's something that sparked this where it's like I used to think like my old YouTube videos were just dog shit because I just never got any views because I just never let track time go by until like I showed two of my partners in my growth operating agency this video, right? And where is it? This video. I showed them this video, and the feedback I got, they literally told me like this was so entertaining. Like they loved both of these videos. And I'm like, oh, so they're not dog shit. I actually have something, right? That coupled with the fact that like every single time I just put my head down and grind content, like I always like kind of see success. Like that Instagram account, it's not my first account that I've kind of grown to a larger following than average. Like back in the day, I had a TikTok account that had like 30,000 followers. I had a couple of videos that had a million views, but then I got banned, which is why I hate TikTok. But I know I can succeed. I've just never given myself enough time to actually follow it through because I would either get super obsessed with like actual like being adult, so to speak, like just being an adult, or I would have to go to college or blah 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 blah. So that's my plan. I'm gonna give myself. I'm in a position right now where I was. Let me tell you, I was about to start grinding adult life, like sales again, to just get my income back up. And teach myself like marketing and blah blah blah. But I was like, I had to stop myself because it's just repeating the same cycle that I've been through over and over again. I had to kind of slow down and look at myself like, do I really see myself serving like info clients the rest of my life? Absolutely not. I don't, right? what do I actually want out of life? There's nothing I want more out of life than the ability to create and build up my own like life. I don't care how much money you give me. If I'm building up your dream, I feel like a slave. Like, that's where I made this video over here. It's because, again, I was 23. I'm making 15 grand a month, and I feel like a literal slave. I was actually depressed, right? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give myself 2 years. 2 years. I currently have 9 to 5, where it's like I'm not making a lot of money. Literally, I'm about to be the brokest I've ever been in my life. Trust me, like, since college, before like the growth operating thing, where it's like, yeah, I made like what, I think it was 40 grand. Didn't take home all of it. Like, I didn't even take home like 20% of it, if I'm being honest. After everything, I probably didn't even take home 20% of it. But I'm in a position where I'm gonna make the least amount of money I've ever made in my life. Like, ever. Like, I'm only gonna make like 30 grand a year. But that's purposeful because I completely cut down all my living expenses so I can survive off of that. Like, my living expenses are so low right now. And the reason why I'm allowing myself to stay here is because, to saying this, I only have to work 35 to 40 hours. I only have to work 35 to 40 hours a week. Now, what that leaves me is another 35 to 40 hours per week, because I'm 100% willing to grind out like 65, 80 hours per week. Like I said, I'm a very obsessive person. You can see it in my eyes. That gives me the space that I've never had, right, to be able to dedicate 35 to 40 hours per week on content and just grind out, build a community, and be able to sustain myself. And I'm going to give myself 2 years. I'm going to stay in like a relatively low income role purposely for 2 years so that I have my time to build what I want on the side. And the reason why I choose 2 years is because realistically, if in 2 years I cannot replace that income, like if I cannot replace that low minimum income in 2 years, I just don't deserve to, like, this just isn't for me. It just isn't for me because it's like I'm obviously just not skilled enough. So that's the plan. Now, this is going to separate in two ways, right? This video is shared across both channels. If you are on my second channel, right, the channel where I posted my growth operating content, right, that channel is actually going to switch niches a little bit, and it's going to go into like AI coding, because part of like my growth operating journey is like I learned how to use Claude Code to make like different tools, and I made a lead scraper that worked exceptionally well and people loved it, and I kind of have a passion for AI coding, right? So that's where that's a little bit more business minded. I don't want to just ditch like the audience I build here. That's going to sit on this channel, on that channel, where it's like that's going to be AI coding, just learning different tools, building different softwares. I generally want to be an AI software developer, like, or and start like building and shipping out software just for fun. Like, that sounds so fun, right? Now, my main channel, that is going to be the hub for basically everything else I do. Now, from what I've learned from like just my time on the internet, like you want to niche down to grow really fast, but for my main channel, I'm actually not going to do that at all. I'm actually going to maximize it for like fitting me, right? Because again, the biggest problem I've had is like conforming and twisting like what I want for other people. An example of that is grinding out 65 to 80 hours. Yeah, yes, I was making a lot of money, but in sales, right? I'm doing it while building up another person's dream, right? So my main channel is going to be, I don't want to say like variety, but it's going to be like just me being myself and like doing what I know, like with a caveat, of course. Like I'm just gonna give myself 2 years, grow that channel, and at least replace my income. That's my only goal there, right? So you have the option to either unsubscribe from either, right? If you don't really care, right? Or if you're on the side channel, like you just came here for growth opera and cool, you can leave. I'm making this video as a courtesy because there is going to be a change on both sides, right? And like, I don't know. I'm really excited about this, but I'm also really scared. Like, I wanted to make this specific video. Of course, I packaged it and I kind of like to leverage your attention so I can make sure that you fucking watch this video, right? But um, I don't know. This is actually really, really scary because number one, I'm not going to be making a lot of money, and that really bothers me. Like, cause like I said, like since like I don't know, I left high school or I left college, like I haven't made less than $50,000 in active income. Except for like this last year when I was running the business and like we only made like 40 grand. Like I didn't take it like, but that was like a risk. Like I knew like yeah my income was gonna take a fat dip, right? Um, but I've never allowed myself to just like be working for somebody else and make like 50,000. That's never happened ever. And this is the first time where it's like I'm gonna do that. Not only am I gonna do that, but I'm gonna be making like barely scraping by with 30 grand a year. Like, I don't. Maybe that's offensive to some people, but to me, it's like that's just unacceptable. Unacceptable. And I'm gonna give myself 2 years to actually just make this happen. If it doesn't, then I'm just gonna stop, go back to adulting, grind out, get back to 50 grand a year, live my life because it's like I didn't succeed. I failed, right? And just making this video has been so terrifying, um, because I don't know like I don't know why it's been but I don't know why this has been so terrifying, but the idea of just like actually trying like for 2 years straight fucking terrifies me. But one of my favorite quotes is like, the cave you avoid holds the treasure that you seek. So I have to face my fears here and kind of like be okay with making a lot less money than I'm comfortable with, just so I can like give myself the time to be able to grind this out. So if you want to support, subscribe. If you don't, no worries. Like, this is gonna happen regardless of like who's here or not. So thank you. Do the rest of the day. Bye.